Now that Ausar Thompson is officially back, what will the Detroit Pistons rotation look like as they ease him back into being full strength, and especially once he gets to full strength? We'll break all that down in today's episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I am your host, Ku Cahill. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Cahill. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, please, if you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are 1,000 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. We want to get there by the end of the year, so if you haven't already and you're listening or watching this podcast, please hit that subscribe button at the YouTube channel, Locked On Pistons, or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is sponsored by Built. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Later on, I want to discuss just how great Malik Beasley has been for the Detroit Pistons, has been a godsend for them. And then later on, I also want to discuss what is Simone Fontecchio's future with this team. I think if you would have asked that question in the offseason, I think it would have been clear. Heavy minute getter in the rotation, maybe even a starter at the start of the year. Now it seems a little bit more murkier, so we'll talk about that a little later. But what should have been the biggest news, and I don't say that in a bad way. It should have been the biggest news, except we had something else happen that was even, I won't say even better, but pretty exciting in Jaden Ivey's game winner against the Toronto Raptors. Ausar Thompson made his return. He had been out for nearly 9 months due to his blood clot issue, and he was able to get cleared by the NBA. And then obviously we had to wait for him to ramp up his conditioning to where they felt good enough to let him play on the court. We discussed how he looked in the game last episode. He showed that he was a little gassed. He obviously is not in the best shape for 5-on-5 basketball. He hasn't played it in 9 months. There's no amount of one-on-one training, gym work, treadmill, track, it doesn't matter what, you can't get into peak basketball condition without playing it, and he hasn't in 9 months, so that was fully expected. But now that Ausar is back, and he's only going to get more and more and more minutes as he gets in better and better and better shape, what is the rotation going to look like, and how are the Pistons going to use him? So the first question I want to answer is the rotation part, and I want to go to just looking at this last game against the Toronto Raptors. Now, mind you, this was Ausar Thompson's first game back in nearly 9 months, okay? He hadn't played 5v5 in quite a bit. And in this game, he already played 16 minutes. He already played more than 3 other players that had been in the Pistons rotation as of late. So, obviously, once Cade gets back, and he's doubtful as of now, I'm recording this at 7:41 p.m., on the 26th. So far, he is still doubtful, so I don't expect him to play in their game on Wednesday. But when he does get back, someone will be leaving the rotation. Someone will not be a part of this rotation. And who is that going to be? Now, the Pistons went, I guess, 10 deep in this game against the Raptors, but one of the guys only played 8 minutes, very sparingly. And that wouldn't have happened if Cade was healthy. They had to play 10 guys, or at least they felt like they had to play 10 guys because Cade was out, and they need to get Marcus Sasser, another ball handler, on the floor and at least see if that would help. But again, as we've talked about a lot, they're going to go with a 9-man rotation. If they do go at the very most like a 10-man rotation, it's going to be someone who plays like 6 minutes. It's not going to be much at all. But I don't even expect that to happen when they're fully healthy. So who are the candidates to get kicked out the rotation? Well, there's 3 players here that I'm going to name. You got Ron Holland. You got Simone Fontecchio. Actually, only 2 players. Those are the 2 guys. Ron Holland or Simone Fontecchio. I was going to say Tim Hardaway Jr., but he really is not at stake of losing his rotation spot. He actually, I think, has been pretty good for the Detroit Pistons to start the year. Given expectations, I think he's done exactly what you've wanted from him. So I don't think he's at risk. I think it's Simone Fontecchio and Ron Holland. And we'll get into more about Simone's future later. But as of right now, it's really a tough decision for JB. Because Simone Fontecchio has struggled mightily this season. I mean, very much so. I don't want to get too far into it because that's the third segment. But he has struggled a lot. However, if you take Simone Fontecchio out the lineup, out the rotation, and play Ausar those minutes when Cade gets back healthy, now you're playing Ausar and Ron Holland. that you're really taking the risk on the spacing. I understand everyone loves Ron. I understand everyone loves Ausar. But these guys are very much, almost, I'm going to say probably 99% sure, not ready to play together. The lack of spacing that would come in a lineup with both those guys for longer than 2 minutes of action is going to be noticed. And with all the spacing you've seen this year and how that's helped everybody, and how Trajan spoke about the need for spacing all offseason, and how JB even talked about all offseason about how much spacing is needed, it's hard for me to envision that they are going to play Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland together for long stretches. Maybe we might get it here and there, but for long stretches, I just can't see it. And I know Ausar Thompson's jump shot looks a lot better. In this game already, he made 1 3, and the form looked incredibly better. A lot better. But, again, the lack of spacing from Ausar and Ron, it's hard for me to envision them going that route. So do they pull Simone Fontecchio out the rotation because he's the one struggling the most, and just play Ron and Ausar together despite the fact that it's going to be hard on spacing? Or do they sit the young rookie guy down who's 19 years old and let Simone play because he still is going to have that gravity of a shooter even if he's not making the shots? So at least teams are going to guard him. Do they go that route? I'm really interested to see which way they go. If it was me, I'm going to lean more towards playing Simone because he's a proven shooter that even when he's struggling, teams are going to guard. And after witnessing last year the Pistons play with no spacing compared to how much better they've looked already through the first almost 2 months of the season, first month of the season or so, month and a half, I do not want to go back to that. That's not something I want to go back to. So that's where I'd lean. But I 100% would understand JB saying, look, Simone, you've really struggled, and quite honestly, Ron has probably been better than you so far. So yes, you provide like gravity as a shooter, but Ron has played better than you, so I'm going to reward him with minutes. I get that too. I just think it's a tough decision. I'm going to lean towards sitting the rookie down for at least now to keep that spacing threat and that gravity. The next question is, how are the Pistons going to use Ausar Thompson when he's on the floor? And I think you got a glimpse of that in this game against the Toronto Raptors. Now, there were a few possessions where Ausar was spotting up in the corner while they ran pick and roll action with Isaiah Stewart. I really do not like that. Now, if Ausar is all of a sudden going to be able to shoot pretty well from the corners, then then it would be great. I'm not expecting that to happen. And just like last year, Ausar Thompson looked much better when he's involved in the action instead of being spotted up in the corner where no one's going to respect him. They're going to sag off him and take away all these drives. I really don't like that, but we'll see if Ausar can make him pay enough. I'm going to guess probably not. So outside of that, though, that was just a few possessions. You saw them use him as a ball handler. He brought the ball up the floor quite a few times. He ran the transition himself quite a few times. They had him coming out some DHOs quite a few times. They even had him involved in a lot of, he was involved in a lot of pick and roll. Not a lot. It was one game. He only played 16 minutes. But these are the things we saw him get involved in. He was a ball handler. He ran transition. He was involved as a screener. He came off DHOs. I think he's just going to be used as a Swiss Army knife, but I think his main role will be as a ball handler. I think they're really going to tap into his ability to be a secondary playmaker, his ability to be a secondary creation, or to provide secondary creation. We saw him get to the rim numerous times in this game, make numerous kickouts. He had 4 assists in just 16 minutes of action. And once he gets more and more of his stamina and his legs back, a lot of those finishes we saw in this game that maybe he didn't have enough air on are going to turn into dunks. And he's going to be a lot more efficient, just like he was his rookie year at the rim. And you're really going to see Ausar Thompson, who I was incredibly high on coming on in the draft. You're going to see why. Because I think you're going to start seeing the Pistons tap into that on-ball creation that he showed at OTE before the draft, before he was drafted. So I think that's what you're going to see from him. I think they desperately need that. I'm super excited to see Cade, Ivy, and Ausar on the floor, because then you'll have 3 capable ball handlers, I believe, on the floor. Cade, obviously, Jay and Ivy, and then also Ausar Thompson, and it allows all of them, whether it be Ivy or Cade, to be off ball a little bit more and not have to carry the on-ball reps as much as they have done. And I think that should be better for the team and should make it easier on them. They're going to have the ball in their hands the most, but having Ausar in the lineup with them should make it easier, should give them time to get cleaner looks off ball, get cleaner catch and shoot shots, get cleaner off-screen looks. Just create easier offense for them instead of having them create everything, every possession. I think that just brings even more versatility to your offense when you get all three of those guys on the floor. So I'm super excited to see that. But that's what I think it's going to look like when Ausar Thompson starts to get into full strength, what JB's going to have to face with the rotation questions, and I think that's how they're going to use him in the offense when they come back, when he comes back to full strength. And I do expect him to be more on the point of attack. He wasn't so much on the point of attack in this game, but I think that was more strategy by the Toronto Raptors to get him away from the action. Fair adjustment from Toronto, but moving forward, I do expect to see him on the ball quite a bit defensively. But let me know how you guys feel. How do you think Ausar Thompson will be used moving forward? And who do you think JB will sit from the rotation and why? Provide your explanation for why you'd go with that. Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at KukaHill. When we come back, Malik Beasley has been absolutely tremendous for the Detroit Pistons. And I think he's easily by far my favorite addition for the Detroit Pistons this year. PSA, for anyone who rents, if you haven't heard of Built, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Built. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use toward flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. There's no cost to join Built. As a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points towards. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's JOINBILT.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use our URL so you know that we sent you. JoinBuilt.com/LockedOnNBA to start earning points on your rent payments today. Then I gotta tell you guys about another one of our sponsors, Robinhood, the new gold standard. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows you to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resource for individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with enhanced 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button. We are 1,000 subscribers away from 10,000. So please hit that subscribe button if you have not already. Head over to whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. You can also leave us a 5-star review. You can also head over to LockedOnDaily.com, type in your email, and get a daily newsletter from Locked On Pistons with your Locked On Pistons Daily podcast. We are currently 15th in the NBA channel in subscribers for our newsletter. We should be way up higher. So again, go to LockedOnDaily.com and type in your email to get a Locked On Pistons Daily newsletter every single day with your daily podcast. And if you want to become a Locked On Pistons insider, we already have a few members that have really enjoyed it. You can talk with me one-on-one. I'm basically like your personal insider. I can text you right to your phone. You can talk with me. I give you guys any kind of insight, anything I'm hearing, any possible Pistons news, rumors, Pistons content, anything you guys will get directly to your phone instead of having to go on social media and search for it. Text the number 313-914-6528 to get a part of that 14-day free membership. If you like it, you can keep going. If not, peace out. You can just easily try it just like that. Easy. 14 days for free. All right, so Malik Beasley, he has been by far, I think, the best addition the Detroit Pistons have made so far, or not so far, throughout the offseason. He was the best addition the Pistons made. He has been an absolute godsend for them. He's averaging the most points per game that he has since 2020 for the Minnesota Timberwolves in just 37 games. He's averaging 15.5 points a game. He's shooting 41% from the field, but don't read too much into that, because almost 10 of those attempts are threes, and he's shooting 38% on those, on 9.5 attempts a game. He is absolutely letting it fly. His quick trigger is providing so much spacing for this team. so much gravity when he catches the ball. Teams are flying out at him. Teams are terrified to leave him alone, which is opening driving lanes for the Detroit Pistons guards, like Jaden Ivey, like Cade Cunningham. He has been absolutely exactly what you've wanted out of a veteran. Honestly, THJ's been pretty good, to be honest, too. But Malik Beasley has been exceptional. And this is all while coming off the bench, mostly. He's coming in, and he's jacking shots up. And if you've watched the Pistons over the last few years, I would say that's something that they've really lacked. They've needed someone that can come off the bench and is just going to let it fly. A straight-up scorer, a shooter, who's going to get up 13 attempts, 10 threes in a game. That's what their role is, and they're going to do it efficiently. They've needed that type of boost, that type of burst off the bench, and Malik Beasley has absolutely provided it for this team. He has been absolutely exceptional. You go and look at his synergy chart. On all spot-up opportunities, he's in the 74th percentile, where synergy ranks as very good. In transition, he's in the 86th percentile. And the majority of that is coming from him hitting threes in transition. Teams are terrified looking for him. In transition, if you don't find him, he's going to hit a three. He's shooting 44% of all threes taken in transition so far this year. He's been absolutely great in what you want him to be. A straight-up spacer, scorer, shooter. Now, you make him dribble a little bit, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. But that's not really what he's doing. He's getting the ball, he's letting it fly. Getting the ball, letting it fly. Kick out, let it fly. He's been exceptional. On all catch-and-shoot opportunities, he's in the 67th percentile. Not so great off the dribble, but like I said, that's not what you want him for. On all catch-and-shoot threes, he's shooting 40%. He's made 51 so far. The Pistons have only played, 19 games? So, again, he's been absolutely exceptional. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I have a picture I want to bring up and show you guys. You guys can see it right there. And for those of you guys listening on the podcast, I will explain it for you as well. I started looking at some film, and I tweeted this. It wasn't a film breakdown. It was more of a compilation. I will be having a breakdown of it, I think, coming soon, over the next day or so. But I wanted to look at how is Cade and Beasley playing together? Because I felt like watching the games, without diving into the numbers first, by just watching games, I felt like, okay, those guys must really like playing together, and they have to be thriving together. Because it feels like when they're on the floor together, you are generating good shots, and Cade's purposely looking for them, and has really good chemistry with them. So I went and looked deeper into the numbers. This graphic that you're seeing on the screen, this is Cade Cunningham and the amount of assists that he has assisted to each player. And the person in first is Malik Beasley with 28 assists. Now, again, it means that Cade Cunningham has assisted Malik Beasley 28 times. That's the player he's assisted the most so far this year. It's more than Jalen Duren on pick and roll opportunities. It's more than Isaiah Stewart. That's more than Jaden Ivey. Him and Malik Beasley have been on an absolute tear and have a great chemistry going between the two. That's not the only thing either. If you look at players who has assisted Malik Beasley the most, so this was who Cade Cunningham has assisted the most. If you look at who has assisted Malik Beasley the most on his shots, it's by far and away Cade. I believe 26 assists. The next closest was Jaden Ivey at 14. So Malik Beasley is feasting off of Cade Cunningham's gravity. He is feasting off the opportunities that Cade is creating for him, and Cade is finding him anytime a defense sags in. They played hard at the nail. Anything like that, Cade is finding him instantly. He's looking for him in transition. If you watch the team play in transition, Cade is looking for him. Malik Beasley is, and Malik Beasley is running, sprinting on whatever wing, because he knows if he does sprint, Cade will find him. So those guys are playing exceptional together. He's making life so much easier on Cade Cunningham. And there's also some more numbers. Now I'll take this graphic off the screen now. But there are also some other numbers that I want to throw out there with you, or to you guys, that have to do with Cade and Malik's chemistry. Cade and Malik Beasley have played 330 minutes so far this year. They have a net rating of plus 2.17. That's one of the better duos with Cade in this year that has played a decent sample size. So again, lends the point to the fact that they are playing really well together and they know how to play well together. The Cade to Malik assist is generating 4.4 points per game. It's the most of any Cade assist on the roster. So points per game, you're getting 4.4 points out of Cade to a Malik assist. It's generating the most points out of any Cade assist on the roster. And this is coming from someone who runs a ton of pick and rolls with a lob threat in Jalen Duren. So Malik has been an absolute godsend for this team. He's doing exactly what you want him to do. He's making life easier on your guards. He's making life easier on potential driving opportunities. And I tweeted out like a 2-minute clip, 2-minute compilation of a bunch of clips I put together. Again, I'll probably go over and break them down on my personal YouTube at Kuka Hill in the next day or two. But if you watch, one of the main ways that Malik is feasting off Cade, and Jaden Ivey as well, but Cade obviously has the ball in his hands a lot more, so it's Cade a lot more of the time, but Jaden Ivey as well, is last year, defenses absolutely loved playing extremely aggressive at the nail. And what that means is, let's say Cade is at the top of the key, and he starts driving right. Or actually, you know what? Let's not say at the top of the key. Let's say he's on the left wing, okay? Let's say Jalen Duren comes up and sets a pick on the right side. So Cade comes off the screen, he's flowing to his right, and he wants to get into a drive. Let's say Malik Beasley's on that right wing. His defender is going to be playing hard at the high post, aggressive in that driving lane. That's the nail. He's going to be playing aggressive at the nail to take away that drive. In past years, teams did that nonstop to Cade and Ivy because they didn't respect who the shooter was on the wing. So if you make that kick out over there, they'll live with whatever that guy shoots that night. And more often than not, it didn't work for the Pistons. However, what's happening is Malik Beasley is almost always one pass away. So he's almost always the guy the defender is helping off at the nail. And there's been so many times that Malik Beasley's just getting open three from that, from teams not wanting to give up the free drive to Cade or Ivy. And they're just kicking out easy pass to Malik, and he's getting a 3-up. There's been multiple clips that I looked at where the defense isn't even playing that aggressive anymore at the nail. But if they are asleep at all, if they're not completely taking that away, Cade will just give a quick pass to Malik, and Malik will just let it fly because his trigger is so quick. He just lets it go, and it's just money. So that's the kind of gravity we're discussing. All season when we talked about gravity within an offense, that's what Malik Beasley is doing. That driving lane is not open. In past years, it was so tight and it was hard to make it. Now that driving lane is just open because teams are not wanting to give up these shots to Malik Beasley, which is why Cade is at the, I won't say is the main reason or the only reason why, but it is one of the reasons why Cade is one of the top players in the NBA getting to the paint and the most shots in the paint because it's been easier for him to get there this year because of the spacing around him. So, again, THJ has been good, but Malik Beasley, man, this is the type of player the Pistons have needed for a while. And that's not even including like the veteran stuff, the culture stuff, how much he's been liked in the locker room, how much he's helping them, helping Cade become a better leader, leading the rest of the guys by example, the kind of toughness that he exhibits on the court, the personality he brings to the team, the personality that a lot of Detroit fans seem to really vibe with. He's quite literally brought everything you could have asked out of a veteran. I mean, I think Malik Beasley, him and Tobias, I'd say, are by far the best veterans this team has had since Mason Plumlee and Jeremy Grant. And I'm talking about like first year Mason Plumlee, Jeremy Grant. First year of those guys. Best veterans since then, and they might be better than those guys. Like, it's been night and day, and Malik Beasley deserves, if you could, and you can't, but if you could, I'd give him an extension right now. Like, I extend him right now and make sure he stays in Detroit. They need to make sure they keep him around long term. He has been a godsend for this team and these young players. You got to keep him around long term. I'm not joking. Like in the offseason, I'd give him a lot of money to keep him here. No joke. I'd give him a lot of money to keep him here. I've been so pleased with how well he has played on and off the court, in the locker room, and his personality, what it's brought to the team. He's been fantastic, man. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill how you guys have felt about Malik Beasley's play with the Detroit Pistons so far this year. Again, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Kuka Hill. When we come back, I didn't think I'd be having this conversation. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of shocked. But we need to start discussing the possibility of what Simone Fontecchio's future is with the Detroit Pistons. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I have to admit I was pretty excited. My wife has been buying Skims for a while now and is always raving about how comfortable their underwear is. So I knew they were going to come through with their men's stuff. I feel like at this point I've tried every boxer brief in the game, but nothing ever fits just right. I think we finally have a winner though. Skims came out with their cotton 5-inch boxer brief, and it honestly puts other brands to shame. They hit right at the thigh and stay there. That's the key. They don't move around. They don't back out. They don't give you a 5 p.m. wedgie. If you're a boxer brief guy like me, this is the one. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com/lockedonnba. Again, shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba. And again, if you're looking for a perfect gift for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, available at skims.com/lockedonnba. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Let me take a drink of water real quick. It's hot in my room. We have the heat on. I need a drink of water, man. It's getting hot. All right, so Simone Fontecchio, man, just re-signed with the Detroit Pistons this past off-season. He signed a 2-year, $16 million contract. At the time, I think everyone considered it a steal. I think a lot of people questioned why it was such a short-term contract. And I said on the podcast, I thought it was because he wanted to get back out in the market soon while he was playing this well, and try to get a bigger contract down the road. And last year, Simone Fontecchio was fantastic for the Detroit Pistons. Absolutely fantastic. He played exactly the way the Pistons needed from somebody. He averaged 15 points a game, shot 43% from deep, and 6.3 attempts in 16 games played with the Pistons. So there was a lot. Everyone, I felt like, in the Pistons community thought very highly of Simone and what his role would be with the Detroit Pistons this year. However, that just has not been the case at all for him. It has not been the case at all. He has struggled a ton. Right now, he is shooting 37% from the field. He's shooting 34% from deep on 3.5 attempts. He's only averaging 18 minutes a game. And in this past game against the Toronto Raptors, he only played 8 minutes. His minutes are going down and down and down. He has not looked comfortable on the court. I don't feel like one time. I don't think there's been one time where I've watched the game this year and I've thought, yeah, Simone feels comfortable. Simone's playing, he's playing how he wants to play. This is the Simone we know about. Like, there's not been one time really this year. And even in games where he's hit multiple threes, it hasn't felt comfortable. It feels like he doesn't really know his place within the offense. It feels like he's forcing a lot of stuff. He is dribbling a lot more and is putting himself into tough situations. He's putting the ball on the deck, and he hasn't looked very good this year. And I feel bad saying that because a lot of people really liked Simone Fontecchio this past year. And he was one of those guys who really wanted to be in Detroit. He really talked about how much he loved being here. Last year, he really talked about how much he loved playing with Cade. But it just has not worked out at all this year for him. He's really, really struggled. And the reason why we're talking about his future with the Pistons, instead of just saying he needs to get better, is because Evan Sidery, who is a national NBA reporter for Forbes, I follow him on Twitter. I think a lot of people have his notifications on. He tweeted this out today. Simone Fontecchio is a name to watch on the trade market. Fontecchio has seen his role decrease for the Pistons after re-signing on a 2-year, $16 million contract. Fontecchio could be a quality floor spacer for contending teams to pursue between now and the February's trade deadline. Now, if I had to put money on it, do I think Simone would be traded? It's tough. I probably would lean towards no. But, it's becoming more... I get it. I get why that's a discussion. And if that's something that's being, talked about amongst teams, which I'm going to assume there must be teams looking at him, noticing that he's having a decreased role, and it's like, okay, that's a guy we can go get for the cheap. That would really help us. Or Evan Sider wouldn't have tweeted this. I have to assume teams are aware of this. This is just, it's such a tough turn of events, and I really hope Simone can turn his season around and start playing well. But like we talked about in the first segment, when Cade comes back with Ausar now healthy, it very well, I just realized my water bottle's in the video. Let me move that. With the way Simone's been playing, there's a very good chance he's the one that falls out the rotation completely. so Ausar can get his minutes, and Cade obviously gets his minutes when he comes back. It very well could be him that falls out. And I don't think anyone saw this coming in the offseason. I mean, this is really a disappointing development for the Pistons. I thought Simone Fontecchio would be a big factor in the Pistons season this upcoming year, or this season, and it just has not gone that way, man. I don't know if he's just not on the same page with JB. I don't know if JB's not that huge of a fan of him. I don't know what it is. But there's not been one point this year where I felt like that he's felt comfortable or played the right way or played his game. Feels like constantly he's pressing and constantly playing away from his game. Even defensively, he wasn't like a godsend defensively last year, but he was fine defensively last year. This year, teams have been targeting him, and he's struggled on that end too. So it's been a tough situation for Simone. He's really struggled, and I want to see him play better. I'd like to see him turn it around and be a key part of the Pistons rotation. But if he does fall out the rotation, if his minutes do continue to decrease, I mean, he only played 8 minutes against the Raptors. If his minutes do continue to decrease, especially when everyone's back healthy, I 100% could see the Pistons trading him at the deadline. I could 100% see a contending team being interested in someone like Simone because he has the ability to shoot the ball and space the floor at his size. He's just struggled mightily to start this year. I don't know, man. This is a tough development. It's a tough development. I won't be shocked if eventually they end up moving him if he continues to struggle, but I think everyone would rather him just snap out of it and be the player he was last year for the Pistons and be a contributor factor in the rotation. But we'll have to see what happens, man. But I can't tell you guys how disappointed I am that this is something we have to talk about. I did not see this coming at all. I don't think many saw this coming. Simone was so good for the Pistons last year. So good. And a lot of people thought they got a steal with his contract this past offseason. Like, that's how good he was last year. And now he's just, man, he's not even half of what that was. He's really struggling. You hate to see it. It's tough, man. You hate to see that happen. But let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KukuHill. Do you guys think that Simone Fontecchio could be on the move soon by the NBA trade deadline? What's going on with Simone? What's your thoughts on his situation right now? Let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter @KukuHill. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace out.